Welcome to Lesson 1 of the Docker Beginners series. Today we're learning the daily 3: Docker run, Docker PS, and Docker stop. By the end of the next few minutes, you'll have spun up an nginx container, opened it in your browser, and shut it down cleanly, all from a single terminal. That's the entire Docker workflow in miniature. Concretely, you'll walk away with 4 skills. First, running a container. Docker run is the workhorse. It pulls the image if you don't have it, then starts it. Second, listing what's running with Docker ps, or Docker ps A to see the stopped ones too. Third, stopping and removing, Docker stop and Docker rm, because containers you forget about pile up like ghosts. And fourth, reading output with Docker logs, which will be your first debugging reflex from here on. Before we touch the keyboard, lock in this mental model. An image is the recipe, read-only, versioned, shared, just a template sitting there. A container is the cake you bake from it. One nginx.latest image, one Docker run, and you can spin up container 1 on port 8080, container 2 on 8081, container 3 on 8082, 3 living instances, same recipe. The image never changes. The containers are where the action and the mess actually happens. So let's meet the command that does all the work. Docker run. It's a Swiss Army knife. In one shot, it pulls the image if you don't have it, creates a container from it, starts it, and attaches your terminal. 4 steps, 1 command. And almost every flag you'll ever learn just tweaks one of those 4. -D detaches it to the background, -P maps a port, --name gives it a friendly handle instead of some random string, -it gets you an interactive shell, and --arm cleans up after itself when it stops. Once you've got something running, the next question is always, what's actually alive? That's Docker PS. Same spirit as Linux PS, but for containers. Plain Docker PS shows you what's currently up. Add -A and you see everything, including the ghost that exited days ago. -Q strips it down to just IDs, which is gold when you're piping into scripts. The columns tell the whole story. Short ID, image it came from, status, port mapping, and that friendly name you set with --name. Or some random adjective Docker picked for you. Now those ghosts you saw with Docker PS-A, they exist because containers live in 3 states: running, stopped, and removed. 5 commands shuffle you between them. Docker stop sends a polite SIG term and waits 10 seconds before getting forceful. Docker start brings it right back with the same data and config. Docker rm deletes it for good, but only if it's already stopped, unless you add -F, which stops and removes in one shot. And Docker kill? That's the SIG kill hammer, for when a container stops listening to reason. Once a container is running, you'll want to see what's happening inside. And there are really just 2 commands for that. Docker logs shows you whatever the app printed to steadout, your first move when something feels off. Add -F to follow live, like tail-F, or --tail50 for just the recent history. Then there's Docker exec, which runs a command inside a running container. Pair it with -IT and bash, and you've essentially SSH'd into the box, a real shell for when you need to dig deep. Now that you've got the basics, here are 6 combos worth burning into muscle memory. Docker run with --rm gives you a throwaway shell that cleans itself up on exit, perfect for quick experiments. Docker stop with Docker PS-Q stops every running container at once, and Docker arm with -AQ sweeps up the stopped ones to reclaim disk. You already know logs -F-tail for triage. Docker exec with -U root forces a root shell when an image runs as a non-root user, and Docker run -P0:80 lets Docker pick a free host port, great when you're running things in parallel. And here's the whole lesson on a single page. 12 commands, the daily driver kit. The left column is how you start containers, plain run, detached, with a port map. The middle column covers naming, interactive shells, and auto cleanup. And the right side is the lifecycle, listing, stopping, removing, tailing logs, and shelling in. Print it, fold it, keep it next to your keyboard. If you can read this sheet without flinching, you've already got Lesson 01. Before we wrap up, let's bank the bruises other people already earned. 5 mistakes. Every first week Docker user makes them. Forgetting -D and watching your terminal get hijacked. Reversing the port map. Remember, host:\container, in that order. Leaving stopped containers piling up on disk because Docker PS hides them. Editing files inside a container and losing everything on the next remove. That's what volumes are for, in Lesson 04. And finally, mixing up Docker RM and Docker RMI. One drops a container, the other drops the image underneath it. Now that you've seen them, none of them will cost you a debug session. Time to put hands on keys. 3 small exercises, each one safe, each one ending in cleanup. First, run nginx detached on port 8080, open it in your browser, then tear it down. Second, spin it up again and watch Docker logs-f stream every curl request in real time. Third, step inside with Docker exec-it web bash, poke around in etc nginx, exit, and remove the container. That's the daily 3, run, observe, inspect, and once you've done them, you've actually used Docker. And that's Lesson 1 in the bag. You can run a container, list what's alive and what's lingering, stop it, start it, remove it, and peek inside with logs and exec. That's a real working foundation. Next up, Lesson 2, images. We'll unpack what you actually pulled down. The layers, the tags, the building blocks behind every container you just ran. See you there.